Hey guys, welcome back to this week's Bull here on Comic Relief Cast. I am your host, Jake.
And I'm Josh. Hey Jake, I got a quick question for you.
What?
Do you feel like Marvel's oversaturating the industry?
I feel like all...
Got
me. And guys, as you noticed, we did not put up anything last week as far as the reviews go because it was just a really busy week. We were following up from Black Friday, and then we had
excuses
and
lies.
And then this past Sunday we were at a toy and comic show. So please apologize.
We were doing a circle jerk, guys. I'm sorry.
Please forgive us for not putting up the reviews last week. I hope you're not too mad about it. But we are back this week with the Marvel section. The DC review is already up, so you can go ahead and check that out anytime you like. But this week we are going to be, or this episode we are focusing on Marvel. So the first things we're going to be doing is the X-Men Holiday Special, number 1. Qui Gon Jinn, number 1. West Coast Avengers, number 5. Uncanny X-Men, number 5. It's 4, I think, right? Yeah. Killmonger, number 1. X-Men The Exterminated, number 1. The Best Defense, Namor, number 1. The Best Defense, The Immortal Hulk, number 1. Winter Soldier, number 1. Immortal Hulk, number 10. And Marvel Knights, number 3. As you guys can see, a lot of number 1s coming out from Marvel. They're really trying to make sure you want to get those comic books throughout the holiday season. But going right off, Star Wars, Age of Republic, Qui Gon Jinn. What this is just like a little one-shot with Qui Gon, and it's really a thin, quick read. It's by Jody Houser, pencils by Corey Smith. It's a very quick read. It's something I was actually looking forward to because Qui Gon was one of my favorite characters in the Phantom Menace and just out of the prequels in general. So I was going, okay, cool. You know, something to kind of give me a little bit more Qui Gon. I miss little Liam Neeson back in the Star Wars universe, but
he was taken.
Yeah. And it's a really thin read, guys. There's not a lot of substance to this book. It's about balance. There's a couple good exchanges between Qui-Gon Jinn and Yoda, but really not a lot. I thought maybe they were going to kind of hint at how maybe he learned how to, force project himself, his voice and stuff like that. But no, it's just this kind of... there's some good dialogue about how the Jedi are seen as either public servants or police or warriors, and how he views the Jedi Order as something different than that. But it's a little bit ambiguous as to where they leave it. There's some cool visuals overall, but not my favorite thing. I was hoping for a little bit more. I was hoping for a little bit more of a dense read. But Qui-Gon Jinn, number 1, I'm going to go ahead and give 2.2 gridlocks.
2.2 for the Liam Neesons?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Man,
yeah, we should
Liam
Neeson's.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Right,
damn.
What did you read, Josh?
I read Merry X-Men Holiday Special, number 1. This is rough. It has a bunch of writers, bunch of different artists. I can't even go through the list because
each page is a different one,
Each
right?
page is a different story, but there is one continuous story that's kind of like a pointless story. Story-wise, this book is not very good. Okay. Like, there's a couple one-page. It's like there's like one page. I'm just like, okay, that was good.
The one with Glob you showed me.
No, that one was good. But
yeah.
there was one with Beast that was pretty good.
Okay.
But it's just this is more of a novelty comic. It kind of reminds me of what is it? An advent calendar.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. It's like an advent calendar because each page has a certain date of December, and I feel like that's what they kind of intended was. Each day throughout the month, you're supposed to read one page, and because they're all separate little stories, all separate little parts, but there's one that follows Jubilee, and that one pops up sporadically throughout the whole thing. With that being said, with the $4.99 price on this, and also it not being a very good story,
$4.99 for something you can read all month. Come on.
I mean, that's kind of cool. That's a cool little novelty, but it would be cool to get this for to read with your kid and start up a tradition like that. That's a cool little idea. I get it, but it didn't land for me. And so with that being said, I give it 1.9 gridlocks.
Oh, you really liked it. All right, moving on to West Coast Avengers, number 5 by Kelly Thompson and Danielle D. Nicuolo. And the reason we're going over this is because the first 4 issues were kind of just the summation of one arc, and this is the starting of a new arc, kind of going, is this a good jumping on point for anybody who's looking to get on the West Coast Avengers? And I'd say, yeah, honestly, it's not a bad little jumping on point. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of stuff you need from the previous arc other than how do they come together as a team, but this is how they're functioning a little bit more as a team, how they're getting together. They're still kind of going on with the reality TV thing, that aspect's happening. But this is just a cute little fun book. I enjoy it for what it is. I don't expect anything grand. I don't expect anything deep or meaningful from it. It's just a fun little book. It's got some good quippy dialogue. I'm enjoying the characters more and more. Quentin Quire is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters from this book.
That was the same way I felt with the past 2 issues.
Yeah, and then Gwenpool actually gets a little bit of love in this book too, which I didn't see coming. They're kind of explaining how they brought her back very slowly and what are the parameters of her powers. What can she do?
Yeah.
I like that. I really dig the artwork in this book, actually.
I do like this new artist, yeah.
Other than a few times where they make Clint look a little bit younger than he really is, but I do like the new artist. And I found this little book, them going to this carnival and them thinking they're being summoned there by Madame Mask, I found it interesting. It doesn't leave off on the most interesting of cliffhangers, because for me, I don't really care about Kate Bishop's parents kind of thing, you know? Mm-hmm. So I was kind of wondering where Madame Mask was supposed to pop up, and she didn't, but other than that, it's just what I read this for is there's a good team dynamic. I like the interplay between the team, and that's what I come back for, and that's what I get from it, and I'm satisfied.
I agree. I'm the same way. I really like this team dynamic. Kelly Thompson is good at this. I mean, she's good at almost everything. I mean, I don't think there's been a Kelly Thompson book or story that we've read that we really dislike. The only thing that we can think of is Uncanny X-Men, and it wasn't really a whole bunch of it that we didn't really dislike. It was just kind of an average book. And this one's great. I mean, it's taking characters I normally wouldn't even care about, and they made me actually like them. I always kind of liked Kate Bishop.
Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for Kate. But I do miss the version of her from the Young Avengers. She's changed quite a bit from me.
But like Quentin, America, Gwenpool. Like Gwenpool's like usually would be the thing that made me go, I don't want this. But I really enjoyed this book. I am right there with you.
I have a question for you. It might make you feel a little uncomfortable answering. You don't have to answer,
okay.
But I'm curious. How do you
Slightly
feel,
to the left right now.
How do you feel about America Chavez and her relationship and the way it's put in this book? Do you feel it's effective? Does it feel forced, or does it feel organic?
It's weird. Okay, so when it happened, I thought that it was. I'm like, okay, so this is like. I felt like it was kind of being forced, but it kind of fits for this book. It fits for this tone of book, and it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I was thinking that though there for a minute because it was something that just like they never really mentioned until the last issue, and I was like, okay, are they forcing this? And we have like almost a page of it, and I don't think it really feels forced. I thought it was at first, but after reading reading this and getting and understanding the tone of this book, I don't think it feels forced. It feels well placed in this book.
Okay, I'm a little different. I don't feel beaten over the head with it, but I do feel like they're kind of going out of their way a bit to make sure they showcase a lesbian in this book, and she's in a lesbian relationship, and that doesn't bother me. But it does feel like they're highlighting it just a little bit, and it's not really fitting organically into it. But I mean, other than that, it doesn't detract from the story.
Well, see, I feel like one thing is they're just pretty much adding, it's the same like issue that you would get like if you had a book where like Superman starts dating Lois. I mean, not exactly the same thing, but it's just addressing that America is a lesbian.
Right. Okay.
But I feel like the dynamic is mostly like what set it to where it felt well placed in this book is it's not really. I feel like they didn't put it in there to showcase it. I felt like they put it in there to add this other kind of like conflict dynamic between Kate, Fuse, and America and all them because that's her two best friends, and then that's also her boyfriend's sister and all this stuff like that. I think it's just supposed to add this like kind of like weird
keeping
conflict.
It in the family.
Exactly.
All right. Well, with that said, I'm going to give West Coast Avengers number 5 3.2 gridlocks.
I'm at 3.2 as well on it.
All right, moving on to Uncanny X-Men number 4 by Ed Brisson and Matt Rosenberg, Kelly Thompson, Perez, I believe his name is. Yeah, a lot of different writers and stuff on this, but actually, this book is finally starting to kind of hone in on what exactly the story it is that it wants to tell. This one is Nate Gray comes back as X-Man. He's pretty much the most powerful being out of any mutant, basically. He's got
very Christ-like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very on the nose with that. He has 4 horsemen and stuff like that as well, which is Magneto, Blob, Omega Red, and Angel. And then he's got Apocalypse tied up. He's got Kitty Pryde tied up, and there's also what I'm really getting annoyed. Well, I'm not getting annoyed, but there's this conflict with the younger X-Men as opposed to the veteran X-Men. And the younger X-Men are like, "You're treating us like kids. You're treating us like kids." And it almost feels like the writer wants us to side with the kids, where I don't. I don't side with these kids. I side with the older X-Men because I go, look, you're being told to pick things back up, clean up the compound. It's been destroyed. We need to get back to rebuilding. And they're bitching about it. And I go, dude. These X-Men, when they were kids, when the mansion would get destroyed, what do you think their job was? That's what they were doing. They weren't bitching at Professor X about having to do it. So I'm almost not sure if the writers are like making these like quote unquote millennial type privileged ones, or if we're supposed to side with them. But I don't side with them. I'm definitely more on Jean Grey and the older X-Men side.
Yeah, we're talking. This is also coming from the guy who's like Team Iron Man.
whatever. I'm just no, I don't even know if that has it to do with this. I'm just saying I don't know which side the writer wants me to take, but I'm definitely more on the I'm with Jean, I'm with Kurt, I'm with Storm and Bishop. Like these younger X-Men, hey, pay your dues. If you want to roll with the big boys, do what they had to do, earn it, you know. And I'm getting annoyed with the whole like, we're kids, we keep getting sidelined, but we can do the job. No, you can't, because you can't even take orders. You can't listen, which tells me in the field you don't know how to act as a team. But this book itself, it's okay. Like I said, it's finally starting to get some footing. It's starting to finally tell the story it wants to tell. The whole Jamie Madrox thing just kind of got sidelined after issue 2, I believe, and now they're bringing it back slowly. But all in all, it's an average book. It's nothing to get excited about. It's nothing that I look forward to reading, and this book really hasn't changed my mind.
I like this book. I get a little bit more excited because I do like X-Men, and I do like Legion, and it seems like they're both playing a pretty big part in this. And I do like seeing Legion, and I do like seeing X-Men in a comic. I kind of agree with you with the whole teenager thing. Like it's kind of annoying. I feel like the writers are just adding it in there just to add some kind of conflict.
Team conflict, yeah.
There's some team conflict. But it's obvious what's probably end up going to happen is like these kids are going to be the ones that end up saving the day, and it's like, stuck it to you adults.
I don't want that. I want to see them think that they're a little bit big for the britches. They go out in the field, they get in over their head, and they have to get saved, and they go, you know what? Maybe we should listen to our elders, kind of thing. Which I'm usually not the one preaching that, but these little fuckers are they're getting annoying. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it is a good book. It's a good story. I kind of see where the conflict is coming, and it seems like it's going to be a pretty good story. But all in all, like what you said, it is an average book. It's a book that like you will probably end up forgetting about at some point.
Right. All right. And with that, I'm going to give this one 2.95 gridlocks. I couldn't get it to 3.
Yeah, see, I'm at 2.95 too.
All right. Moving on to Killmonger #1 by Brian Hill and Juan Ferreira, whatever. And this one, so this is an interesting book. I didn't really understand why they were going to put out a Killmonger book. Yeah, I understand he's popular from the movie, so it's like, why don't we capitalize on that? But what story is there to tell? And judging by this book, there is no story to tell.
Right? Because his daddy, he didn't even find his daddy with panther claws in his chest.
Oh, Jesus. But the thing is about this book is they're taking elements from the movie and they're taking elements from the comic lore and they're mixing them together. And to me, it's just a little all over the place. It doesn't know what story it wants to tell because it wants to make sure it's accessible to people who have only seen the movie, but it's like I want to pay a little bit of tribute to people who are, the very few fans that are out there of the actual representation of the comic book Killmonger. And one of the things I have to call this book out on is like the Mary Sue element, which they talk about in movies like Ray is a Mary Sue. Killmonger is kind of like that. He's like the male version. I don't know what the male equivalent of Mary Sue is, but he's good at everything. There's nothing he's bad at, and it makes for a very boring character for me. Like there's not, other than him going, oh, I don't know where I came, or I know where I came from, but I'm not a part of my homeland. He's good at everything. This guy, if he would have just shed, all the want for revenge, he could go out and make a life for himself and, do whatever the fuck he wanted. And that's where I have a hard time siding with this character. I have a hard time grabbing on, going, I can relate to you because you can do anything you want, but you choose to just be angry all the time. And then, we get some new players in this book, characters I've never heard of. And then there's the reveal that Kingpin is also a part of this book. And that got my interest, and then it waned really quickly. So how did you feel about it, Josh?
Well, it feels like, to me, when I read it, it felt like it was a decent fan-made comic. It didn't feel like an actual Marvel comic, and it just felt like somebody...
Good way of putting it.
Well, it just felt like it's something that I would have came across somebody made and put on Tumblr. It didn't really... It felt like they were just kind of trying to, ride on the coattails of the fandom.
It feels like fan fiction.
Yeah, it feels like fan fiction. It feels like they're right on the coattails of the fandom from the movie, and I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, the art isn't all that great in there.
It's not bad. I don't mind.
It's not bad. There's certain points in it that was okay, but for the most part, it just, I don't know. And I like Killmonger. I think he's a cool character from the movie, but when you go to the comic books, it was a character that I never even really gave two shits about.
Right.
So, like, I'm not gonna lie, I like the Killmonger movie, like the Killmonger in the movie, but not really. I never really cared about him in the comic books. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. It just felt like a decent fan-made comic, because I've seen some pretty bad fan-made comics, but this one felt like he's like, oh, okay, that's
it's passable. Like if you were to find this online, you go, well, yeah, this guy might have some talent.
This one I'm really surprised that Marvel was like, here we go, like print it.
Yeah, and with that, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one 2.75 gridlocks. Nothing to write home about for me.
Really?
Yeah.
2.75?
Yeah.
Man, I feel bad. I'm giving it 2.25.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really did not.
I mean, here's the thing. I didn't hate reading it, and I have to give it a little bit over 50%. But it's not something I'm gonna remember, and I have no inclination to pick up the rest of the book.
Yeah. See, I didn't like hate it, but it just, and it wasn't like it was a bad read. It's just, for the most part, I thought it was very pointless to have this.
Yeah, it is pointless. All right, moving on to X-Men: The Exterminated, which is what I thought this was going to be. By the way, the writers are
Everybody's going to think this is actually an X-Men podcast with how many X-Men books we're reviewing.
The writers are Zach Thompson and Lonnie Nadler, and the artist is Neil Edwards. And what I thought this was going to be was kind of like an epilogue to the Extermination 5-issue series. Turns out it's not really that. It's kind of a two-part story. The first part is Hope dealing with the death of Cable. Spoiler alert if you guys didn't read Extermination, but
it was in the first issue.
Yeah,
guys.
The original Cable was killed off in Extermination, and it's how Hope is kind of dealing with those feelings. You get Bishop, you get Jean Grey, you get Deadpool, and which is weird. Jean makes it sound like Nate was her son, right? But Madeline Pryor was his birth mother, so I don't understand how that happens.
Dude, clones are weird. Don't try to make sense of clones.
Yeah, that's why the X-Men continuity is just so fucked up.
It's really, I mean, to the point that like I feel like there's at least every 3 months, like we do this whole thing where we question, like, Hope's not related to them in any ways. Like, we had to do that again today.
She's not genetically related.
Yeah, she's not genetically.
And then the end, basically the message is, look, you got to deal with grief, you got to deal with loss. It's a natural part of life. You know, you can't do anything to change it. That's kind of the message of that first half. Then the second half is when Cable's born and what Cyclops and Madeline and actually Corsair went through when he was a baby, and it's narrated by Cable, but Cable's dead, so he's like narrating it from the afterlife kind of thing. And it's an interesting little book. It's a good little brush up if you don't know Cable's backstory, and it's also been embellished and changed a little bit from the actual origins. But it's not a bad little read. I was hoping for a little bit more of a epilogue to the Extermination and go, okay, where are the X-Men going from here?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it was a bad read. Like the first story wasn't a bad read. The second story I could have gone without, but that first story was pretty good. I did like the part where Deadpool came in. Yeah. I thought that was pretty nice.
He actually wasn't his normal jackass self too much.
Well, yeah, and then that's one I like Deadpool. A lot of people, like a lot of fans that we know, James, likes the really funny, humorous, I'm gonna fart in your face Deadpool. I like the Deadpool.
Hey, look at my dick.
Yeah, hey, look at my dick. And, like that Deadpool. But really, I like the Deadpool where you find out that he's just, where he breaks down, where the humor is not a good defense mechanism anymore. He can't hold it back. And those are the moments that I like. And I kind of felt like we were kind of getting that with this because him and Cable were close. They were teammates. And
he actually even says that I was probably closer family to Cable than you two ever were.
Yeah, and I like those moments when Deadpool shows
a little bit of humanity.
Yeah, a little humanity. But that last story, I felt like it wasn't really needed. And also, with that being said, me saying I did like that first story, it was like it wasn't what I was hoping or expected to be.
Right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give this one. I mean, I enjoyed it, so I'm going to give it 3.1. 3.1 gridlocks. I think that's a fair number.
I'm at 3 gridlocks. My biggest disappointment to this book also is it's a whole book kind of like supposed to be like a memorial kind of thing for Cable, but we all know that Cable's technically not dead. Yeah, young Cable's about to be in X-Force, so it's not really like, it's like, oh, we should be sad. It's like they're trying to make you sad, but at the same time, it's like, next month is X-Force.
He's a time traveler. All he has to do is come back from before he died.
Right? It's not like he's not like he's going to be gone forever.
Right. All right, moving on to the best defense, number 1, Namor. So if you guys don't know, all 4 defenders, Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, Namor, and the Immortal Hulk, they're all going to get their own little one-shots before they get this little Defenders miniseries. And Namor's was written by Chip Zdarsky, art is by Carlos Magno, and if anyone picks this up, which I would recommend, I'll tell you right off the bat, I would recommend picking this up. If you've been reading Aquaman, you're going to find a lot of similarities, but again, that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. So basically Namor he's kind of doing what Aquaman's trying to do, unite the tribes of the underwater, the undersea communities under Atlantis, and he's going through a few trials and tribulations. And it's weird. There's this interlude real in this book that I'm like, what in the world is this? And then it never comes back into play in this book. And so that kind of threw me for a loop. But there are some good little flashbacks to the Invaders stuff. But all in all, this is a good way, if you're not very familiar with Namor, not familiar with the character, how he interacts with people, kind of his attitude towards sea life and Atlantis, this is a good book. This is a good little baseline starting issue for you guys if you're not too familiar with Namor. But all in all, it's a cool book. The art's not great. I'd say, honestly, the pencils are good, but the coloring could have been a lot more vibrant. I think you could have gotten a lot more of a spectacular look at Atlantis and the underwater seas, communities and stuff. But it's a cool book. You got giant monsters, underwater monsters. You've got conflict between Namor and some other tribes under the sea, stuff like that. And it definitely did not end on a note that I was expecting at all. It ends on a weird note in a way that I'm going, what in the world is this? I have no clue what to make of this, but it actually makes me excited to read the next two one-shots, and it actually is probably what gets me the most excited about the Defenders, to go, what the hell? I need answers.
I agree. Okay, for starters, I will say this is a good Namor book. It's a good book. It's a good read. Chip Zdarsky really did his homework when it comes to Namor, which is, it's rough because Namor is a character that doesn't get a whole lot of love, which is really weird because he's one of the original Marvel characters.
Well, he's actually, I think, back in Timely Comics, right?
Yeah,
or Atlas at least.
Yeah, he is. And that's one thing I do like, as they do reference him and fighting Nazis and stuff, and him remembering back and have these little panels like that in there. I agree with the art. The art could have been, if it was a little bit more vivid, it probably would make up for the fact that a lot of the panels and a lot of the pages look way too busy. There's just a lot of detail and everything, and that's great, and I like it when there's a lot of detail. But the problem is it's like you only see 3 different kind of colors
monotone
on each page, and if there was more color to it, those details would pop out better, and it wouldn't feel like it was so blobbed together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good hefty read. It's a big book, and there's a lot of material in it. And with the $4.99 price, this is what you would expect for a $4.99 book.
Right.
If you are a Namor fan, you will most likely love this book. But that ending,
one of the 9 that exists.
Yeah, but that ending will make you want to read the rest of this Best Defense, because it is a weird ending. I don't know, I have no clue of how this could possibly happen.
Right.
But it's, with that being said, though, it's also kind of a cool ending, too.
It is. And, you're talking about the ending, when you look at the art here, I like this. It actually reminds me a lot of Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp's Green Lantern right now is just this kind of look. It's got a little bit of that look to it, but this, it's got a lot more color. It's got a lot more vibrance to it. I agree. Something I would really wish you could get. Also, you get a free digital copy of this with the book too, which Marvel's doing again, which they kind of stopped for a little while.
They kind of stopped it for a while, but now they're doing it again.
So with that, I'm going to give Namor 3.4 gridlocks. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think part of the reason I enjoyed it is because I feel a good tie between this and the next book we're going over.
Yeah, I give it a 3.4 as well, mostly just because I do like Namor, but he's not my favorite character. And it's a very Namor book.
Right. All right, and with that, we're moving on to the Best Defense, The Immortal Hulk, #1 by Al Ewing. The art is done by Simone DeMeo. And this, again, if you guys have been enjoying The Immortal Hulk, this is a book you're going to want to get just as a good companion piece, because Al Ewing just knows how to write the Hulk as a horror monster comic book, and that's exactly what I want. Yes, the art is very different from what you're getting in The Immortal Hulk, but this is what I'm talking about.
I
love the art
too.
in this book.
Yeah.
I'm actually really digging it. It actually reminds me of something like Sentry, Jeff Lemire's Sentry book.
Exactly.
And this is what I want. And so this actually surprisingly deals a lot with Bruce Banner. This is a very Bruce Banner heavy book, but this book also, it highlights the fact that Bruce Banner is not really a pushover. This guy has been through some shit. He knows, hey, I've been through the muck. I've died. I've come back to life. I've been in space. I've dealt with the best of the best. I've got nothing really left to fear anymore. And so he's pretty fearless as he wanders into this ghost town. And then what I was talking about during the interlude of Namor actually has another page that plays out in this book. So you go, okay, here's the thread. Here's kind of the through line between what we're going to probably get with all these one-shots, and whoever this character is, he's going to play a big part. But I really like, too, that they take this book and they also put classic panels in the book of Hulk back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Back when he's still Gray Hulk for a while.
Yeah, you got some old Hulk in there, and I like it because it also kind of feels like that is what's like Hulk is saying in his head
Right.
at these times and these moments.
Yeah, and then what I like about this too is it's kind of gory, it's kind of grotesque, it's weird and off kilter, and I like that. I mean, the depictions of these characters, it's not pretty. And then the other thing that makes me very interested about how we're going to get a Doctor Strange one-shot is from something in this book that I go, if this is what's going on, how are we getting a Doctor Strange one-shot? Because the situation here does not seem conducive to a Doctor Strange book.
It probably is going to be like some kind of like prelude to all this.
Yeah, so this book has me very interested. I loved it. Al Ewing knows exactly what to do when he's writing Hulk. I'm going to go ahead and just give this book 3.6 gridlocks. I really enjoyed this one.
I really love the artwork in this. I love the use of using old panels from old comics, and it just kind of seems like that's what the Hulk is telling Bruce to do at those times. And artwork is great, but Al Ewing, man, he kills it. Like, it just bugs me that it's like took this long to get him on the Hulk.
Yeah,
because it's obvious that this guy knows how to write a good Hulk storyline.
It's kind of a bummer that it's taken this long to get a good Hulk in general.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that being said, I'm at 3.75.
All right, a little bit higher. All right, going on to The Winter Soldier, #1 by Kyle Higgins and Rod Reyes. This is going to be a 5-issue miniseries on The Winter Soldier. Dude's going back to Indiana, and he's kind of doing this witness protection program thing for people. It's a weird direction for the Winter Soldier, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it seems like he's only doing it for ex-Hydra agents.
Well, that's what it seems to be in this book, at least, is
Yeah.
ex-Hydra agents. I don't know if that's what he's exclusively dealing with, but you get some good cameos from Sharon Carter, some Tony Stark, and what this book also does is introduce a new character, a younger version of Bucky, who seems to be a little bit more trigger-happy and a little bit more gung-ho. But this book, it's good. I like the art. It's a different feel to it, but I like the way that they're writing the Winter Soldier. The only gripe I really had with this book, I mean, don't get me wrong, it surprised me in how much I enjoyed it, because I thought, okay, why are we getting a Winter Soldier miniseries? But I enjoyed it. But Bucky's kind of gone soft in this book. It feels like he's got a little soft spot in his heart, and he's not so grizzled and hardened. He's kind of softened up a little bit, and I've found that to be a bit of a surprising turn.
Yeah, I saw that too, and it was kind of weird, and that kind of like that's the only gripe that I have with this book. But other than that, I mean, I really dig the art, and I might just be because I'm a Hoosier and I do like the idea of him going back to Indiana. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I love the art in it, and I do like the story, and I kind of feel like because they haven't really specified, you're right, they haven't specified exactly is that what he's dealing with, but with him being partnered up with Sharon Carter and him doing witness protection for an ex-Hydra agent, I kind of feel like this is them kind of like being like an aftermath of Secret Empire. It doesn't come out right out and say that, but it would make sense because after that, you would have to have some witness protections on some people who might have went, okay, I was in the wrong. I didn't realize I was following Cap's lead. And who else better to kind of help that out other than Bucky?
Right.
Who's also been brainwashed and stuff like that. So you kind of understand that. But other than that, yeah, that was a great book.
Yeah, and what would you rate the book?
I am going to give it a 3.5. I feel a little bit nice today.
Okay. And before I give that, I am going to go ahead and give our secret code phrase. Give this phrase to us at any point throughout the week and get 20% off any book not on your pull list. Code phrase is peace in our time. All right, and what I will carry this, I'm going to give it
Did you steal that from Age of Ultron?
one of these books definitely did. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 3.3. I liked it. Can't get it to 3.5. Kind of wanted to. I'm a Winter Soldier fan, but just it didn't.
It's really hard too, especially because like I definitely could give this a little bit higher grade if they wrote this character more like the way that Brubaker wrote Winter Soldier and
exactly.
stuff. Like, because like he's such a gritty character that way, but for some reason I don't know, it resonated with me.
No. To each his own. All right, the Immortal Hulk, number 10. The only reason we're even going over this is because the Immortal Hulk has just been so consistently damn good that we just got to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
It's still the same team of Al Ewing and Joe Bennett, and I'm telling you guys, Al Ewing knows how to write the Hulk. He knows how to write a monster horror book, and this book, if you guys read the last issue, Hulk versus Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man. What a fight. What just a creepy, weird fight. You got like an emaciated looking, drained, skinny version of Hulk who's got this loose skin hanging off of him.
He's still kicking ass.
Oh, I know. An Absorbing Man's just torn in half with like his spine and skull still doing the fighting. It's so weird. It's so crazy. But the way this book ends off, it feels like everything is starting to come full circle. From issue 1, the Green Door. They reference it multiple times. It's been referenced in this book, but it's also been referenced multiple times throughout the series. Yeah. And it's finally the Green Door has been opened. I won't say how. I won't say who does it, why, but it's finally happening. I think the next issue, this thing is going to blast off like a rocket because this series is going to go to some crazy places, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people's actually like. Because when this book came out, it was a huge hype. We couldn't keep our hands on it. I mean, granted, I don't blame them because there hasn't been a good Hulk storyline, and now there actually is, and everybody's jumping on it. And then in our shop, we still sell a big old stack of it. But with that being said, we have a few people that just hopped off on it, and I don't understand how you could hop off on this book.
No,
it's consistently been a good book, and this is
like Marvel's Green Arrow. It's just a consistently good book.
Yeah, I don't understand. Okay, but my biggest thing I want to say about this book, because I could go on all day about it, and I'm like stumbling, and I'm about to get on these tangents.
It is late.
Yeah, it is late. But the one thing I will say about this book is this is what Marvel needs.
Yeah.
Marvel needs a book that doesn't feel like all the other ones. It's all these like capes and cows and stuff. It needs a book that kind of goes back to their roots of not just having superhero comics, but having horror, having romance, all this other kind of stuff. And it is a great read.
Yeah, Marvel seems so adverse to the idea of changing the status quo, but here Al Ewing is doing it, and he's succeeding. And it's going to redefine the Hulk, I think, for a good long while in the comic books. I don't think anybody's going to be able to follow this run and go, I'm just going to take Hulk back to what he used to be. They're going to want to try and keep this kind of horror monster thing going on, and I wouldn't blame him. This is a great angle for the Hulk. And, dude, there is just some gory imagery in here, just some grotesque imagery, and I love it. Mm-hmm. So issue 10, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.9. I'm going 4. I'm going 4. Gridlocks with this one. I really enjoy this series as a whole.
I'm going at 4 as well. It's great, and I'm so pumped that we got 2 Al Ewing Hulk comics today.
Yeah, that almost never happens.
Yeah.
Never does, actually.
It never does.
All right, and the last book we're going over is Marvel Knights number 3 by Howard Cates, or by Tini Howard and Donnie Cates, and the artist is Damian Cusiro. And again, another really good series. Another thing that's just not your typical comic book. It's not your typical superhero comic book. It is almost it's like a House of M type storyline. But as you and I have been talking about, and I'm inclined to agree with you. If you guys read Lemire's Sentry run, we think that's going to have a big part and play a big role in this book. If you read that, you understand maybe what we're talking about. But this one what I like about it too is it's called a Marvel Knights book, but it's very primarily, at least these first 3 issues, primarily a Frank Castle Punisher book.
Well, the first issue is definitely more of a Daredevil.
I don't think so. I still got a lot of Frank Castle.
I know, but Daredevil's doing most of the narrating.
Okay, I'll give that to you. But the issues 2 and 3 then have definitely been very Punisher centric, and I love that. You got Hulk, you've got Elektra, Daredevil, got a couple other people. Which what I like too is it doesn't make me as a reader feel stupid. They bring in other characters and they don't name them, but you know who they are.
Oh yeah.
If you're a comic fan at all, you know who they're alluding to. You know who they're talking about. You know who these characters are. There's some great cameos in this issue, and I absolutely love it. I don't want to give it away because I want to know how many people pick up on who certain characters are. There's some obscure ones, and I love it, but what I like about this too is that it's getting to the heart of Frank Castle. It's not just like what's going on, what's the story. It's also taking some time to flesh out Frank as a character, and kind of what I remember Jason Aaron doing in his Punisher Max run. It's like, why is he the Punisher? It's what he does because of his circumstances, or is that who he's always been? And it's starting to kind of tackle that in this book too, and I love that idea because the Punisher to me has never just been, oh, my family was killed. The way Jason Aaron put it was his family was killed and it unleashed what was already there. And I'm starting to get that feel from this too.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely like what they're doing with Frank Castle, and it makes sense for the story because out of all the characters that you have on here, Frank would be the one character that would be the best to try to have him break out of this shell of not knowing who he is.
He's a good audience character.
He definitely is a good audience character, especially very good narrative character to have too. And I mean, I do love the cameos that are well placed in here, not making you feel too stupid, but also not making you think super hard. If you're somebody who's new to comics, you might not pick up on some of them, but for the most part, it is a fun book, and I do love that Frank Castle's kind of like the leading man in the past couple of issues, and where this book ends, I mean, I am definitely really intrigued, and not just ends, but there's all these little hints, and I do have my theories, and I feel like it's kind of getting closer to being able to reveal if my theory is correct or not.
Yeah, and the other thing too is if you guys have been reading the past 2 issues, there's this whole idea about Karen Page, and is she there? Is she really not? Is it a ghost? They address it a little bit in here, but still don't give you a specific yes or no answer about it, which makes it a little bit more interesting too. But saving the suspense, I think this is actually my favorite read out of Marvel this week. Marvel was solid, but it wasn't great, whereas I think DC had definitely the better offerings this week. But Marvel still showed up. You know, they came up to bat. They hit a couple doubles, hit a triple. No home runs, though. So for this book, I'm going to give it 4.2 gridlocks. Really enjoyed this. Really enjoying this series.
Yeah, I'm giving it 3.95.
All right.
I would take it up to 4, but I don't know. I enjoyed the Hulk so much more.
I get it. All right, and Josh has one last book he wants to talk about.
Venom. Okay, yep. Venom number 9 starts off with a new story of the Abyss. Eddie Brock is going back home to San Francisco, and his symbiote's still wonky, and it's not working out very well, and he's in conflict. I give it 2.95. gridlocks.
And that is only because Josh is apparently not
I'm obligated to.
He's not allowed to go a single review without doing the new Venom issue. But that is all we've got for you guys this week from Marvel. We really appreciate you listening if you've come this far. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like this. Share this with any of your comic book reading friends. See if whether or not they agree, disagree. But most importantly, what did you guys think about it? Comment below. Let us know. Did you hear anything that you like going, hey, I'm going to pick up that book. I wasn't planning on it, or I was planning on picking up that book, but from what Jake and Josh say, maybe it might skip it. Let us know in the comments below. And of course, guys, subscribe to the channel. We have hit 819 subscribers as of this recording, and I don't think you can go much higher. I can't even count that high. So pretty much we're the biggest YouTubers on YouTube. We really appreciate all the support, guys. And we'll probably see you Friday for the weekly web up. Take care.
Flip.